Good morning. Happy Sunday to you. I am trying to at least be present online once a day for the next 30 days. I'm trying also to get back in the habit of writing. And once you get away from writing, it is really, really hard to get back into it because you have to put your mind in a whole other frame of reference. And when you are constantly listening to outside noise and you are forever scrolling through social media, it clouds your creativity. I want to get the second book out, Seaside Shore. I've in July when He Had Her was published, it was picked up by an indie publishing house. It's available on Amazon. As I was writing When He Had Her, I knew that storyline in my mind because I had seen it play out over the last 10 years, chapter by chapter by chapter. So when it finally came time to sit down and write the book, it was a no-brainer. I saw it in my mind like a movie. And, I repeat myself a lot of times when I talk, but those that have read it said this very much could be a lifetime movie. So as I'm trying to get back into my blog, which is really, really hard because that is a personal view of how I see life, and it's not so much about exposing my view or somebody reading my thoughts. I could care less what anybody thinks about me. I would much rather be talked about than forgotten. But I'm going to read you a couple different things because the two characters are so different from When He Had Her and Seaside Shore. So let me read this to you, pardon some of the stumbling. And I need new glasses so I can see you fine, but then to read this, I'm like, ugh. Okay, so Hank was the main character, the male character in When He Had Her. He couldn't see the truth, that it was his own lack of integrity, his greed, and his addictions that had driven everything into the ground. But as always, Hank needed someone to blame, and Kate, the female character, his greatest victim, was now his scapegoat. The circus never stopped. The crowd would always talk, always whispering, always watching from the sidelines, shaking their head at Hank's repeated the same story and story and story. Another woman, another disaster, but none of them ever saw the real truth. What went on behind closed doors, what Hank had done to them, how much of themselves they had lost in the process. That is pretty much the premise, part of the premise of Hank in this story, When He Had Her. It's an easy read. It's available on Amazon. He craved reinvention, one final rewrite where he could shed the skin of his failures and a clean slate untouched by truth. This is a man who avoids accountability and the truth at all cost, and he doesn't care who he hurts in the process or how he feels he can get ahead. It doesn't matter. So that's that. Now, in Seaside Shore, a gal is giving up a dream that she has because now she's left with a legacy she's trying to continue. And the male character that she comes across, there are such similarities in what she is familiar with because of her father. But this is someone, another male character who is hiding behind his own persona because he can't face the image in the mirror. It's a man numbing with routine, bottle, and cigarettes, a life flattened into repetition. His purpose has been eroded by a job that's completely hollowed him out. Independence that he claims that is really isolation dressed in discipline. Attachment hidden in a posture of self-reliance. I don't need anybody. I don't like anybody. I don't want anybody around me, so he can stay within his own hollowness. And has learned to retreat style in a uniform applied now to how he approaches intimacy. So we have two different dynamics of characters, where this one doesn't want to face the truth, and that character doesn't know how to see anything other than the image that is being reflected back to him because he's been made to believe something he is not. And his accountability and his own truths now are eroding at the type of life he has thought he has had to lead. So as I am getting back into writing Seaside Shore, which takes place on a beach, takes place in an environment that most people go to escape to, except the reality of escaping no longer applies because that person is trying to reclaim something he has never had, and he doesn't know how to reclaim something that you're not familiar with. So as I reread this book often because I want to make sure that the two characters are not, intersecting in any way, because they are two different dynamics, but there are both issues of alcoholism that carry that trait. I'm kitrynmarie. I reside in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm an artist, writer, speaker, life, and a business coach. Reside in St. Louis, Missouri. Teach a variety of art and communication classes, art classes, excuse me. I'm going to be trying to teach a class, at our community college, maybe come spring or summer, on how to write a book. And while I have this downtime going into the next couple months, I want to get back to writing. I want to get back to the creative side of my life, because too much of the logistical part of bullshit that takes over our life has all consumed my ability to be creative. And I want to make sure that I get back to that part of myself that makes me be sane and whole. What about you? What keeps you sane? What keeps you whole? What keeps you in that creative part of life that you know that you can make money at? I talk about that in my business coaching class. It's a one-on-one class. It is not a course. It's important that you get back to who you are. It's important that you understand your own makeup, understanding what has kept you from seeing your own truths and what has kept you from being the very best version of yourself. I want to try to keep this online presence. I want to teach my art and communication classes. I want to get the second book out, where I thought I would have it done by fall. It just has not been feasible. Today will be my last Sunday working at the restaurant, which I am thrilled about that. Sunday customers and clients are the worst to deal with, and at this point in life, I don't want to deal with any of that. But again, I am kitrynmarie, an artist, writer, speaker, life, and business coach, reside in St. Louis, Missouri. Be happy, be blessed, be thankful for everything. Remember, fate turns on a dime, and it is up to you to decide what side of that coin you want to be on. Do you want to learn how to write a book? Reach out to me, kitrynmarie@gmail.com. I can tell you how to sign up for the class.